you can kind of have these aha moments about why you think or why why that failure wasn't actually really a failure and why that would currently relate to your audience and what they care about. It's that analysis and that pattern recognition of your life experience combined with recognizing what your audience really cares about. And if you can match that, that is the goal.
Welcome back to Amplify with Jess Ekstrom, where we amplify your ideas, your influence, and your income. Today, I am thrilled to introduce you to someone I absolutely adore because she makes the often bro-y world of AI feel accessible and human and, dare I say, feminine. My guest is Patrice Poltzer, co-founder of My Story Pro AI, a storytelling and AI strategist, and a former award-winning Today Show producer. We'll dive into her incredible journey from selling books door to door to navigating toxic startup culture after leaving her dream job, and how these experiences unexpectedly shaped her unique approach to AI and business. To start, you might be surprised to learn that with all of Patrice's accomplishments, she was completely lost in her 20s.
I hated my 20s. I was just, I knew in my gut I wasn't meant for maybe the corporate path. I'm from the Midwest. Like, you go to a college, you meet your husband in college, you get married and you're 25, and then you have a kid it was just like very set, and I was just not on that path. And I sold books door to door for 3 years, like full on door to door in Florida, Texas, Cali. Tell me you're lost without telling me you're lost when you're like going door to door at the back.
But it literally reminds me of like when we were kids and we had to like sell wrapping paper to neighbors, for like a school fundraiser. But I'm like, one, okay, is that really ethical? But two, I'm like, talk about building your hustle muscle of like door to door sales. Holy cow.
You know what? Trying to bring it up. It's so funny you say that because I remember feeling like such this is like a harsh word, but like I felt like a little bit like a loser. Like when I was in my 20s, like I felt everyone, my friends were just on this path. Some were even getting promoted, at like 25. And I was like going door to door. My last job was in California. And I just remember thinking like, I am so lost. Like, this is not how it's supposed to be. But fast forward, I ended up kind of getting into TV later on. I'm from Chicago, so I got an internship at WGN. I was like a professional intern for a couple years, but I made a lot of money selling books. So I was able to like kind of fund my way through these internships. And I ended up getting my foot in the door, ironically, at the Today Show, fast forward in 2010. And the guy that I interviewed with, he had no intention of hiring me. He's like, you were so not what I was looking for. He's like my mentor now, but at the time he was just like, how did you even get here? And we just started chatting and my book selling came up randomly. And he said that as soon as I said that I sold books door to door, he goes, I knew in my gut that I was going to hire you because, you can teach any skill. You can teach AI. You can teach someone how to get on a stage and speak. You can teach coding. You can teach anything, but there's sometimes these intrinsic skills that are you can learn.
A grit. Yeah. That is like, it just goes to show that there are like multiple ways in, like there's multiple paths to get to where you want to go. And also like, you're never really behind. Like, timelines are all relative. I think you're right. Like the whole narrative of like, you had to have a, best-selling this and go viral and blah, blah, blah by the age of 22. I'm like, I'm so impressed by people who are like, yeah, I left my like job at 46 to start this thing. Or I have 3 kids and I'm like, after they go to bed, I'm working on my idea. I think we like really over glorify this like young founder. And I was one of them.
You were.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I had nothing to lose. I could go put everything into this idea because I had privilege. My family was emotionally and financially there if I needed anything. Right. I didn't have a roof to keep over my head. I didn't have kids. And so I could leap, not to not give like young people credit, but I think that the credit should be like dispersed a little bit more. So you're at the Today Show, you have this like dream job and this dream career, and you're like, you know what? Let's blow it all up and do something else. Talk to me about that transition.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that linear, but I was at the Today Show and I left at my peak. I had just won a Gracie Award. I did a bunch of I embedded myself for a few weeks during the Syrian refugee crisis, and I was on the shores of Greece with mothers and children coming over on rafts and boats capsizing at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the Spanish Coast Guard running into the sea and trying to save dead children in the water. I mean, it was like, that changed my whole worldview changed when I was working at the Today Show. And I remember I was 7 months pregnant when I was there the second time, and I was on the shores there. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, I had like this feeling of I think I need to do more, or I think I need to do something more, even though I had this amazing job. But it's corporate, they need you on a hamster wheel. I was only as good as my last story. And as soon as that story is on air, rest be assured, the minute after, your boss is like, what's your next one? So you're always in this constant, oh my God, like it's how you have to be creative, even if you don't feel creative, right? Which is good for skills of practice. But anyway, I actually, when I was on maternity leave, I got poached, which by the way, never happens, by a very fancy, and I say quote unquote fancy, startup that wanted me to come lead their video team because I was on Snapchat. And I feel like, no, literally, I was on Snapchat, like, as for fun. I was probably the oldest person on Snapchat in 2016 because there was no
29-year-old intern. Yeah.
Well, I was at that point. No, I was like in my 30s at that point. And so anyway, I was like, this guy saw me and he's like, this sounds so crazy. I'm obsessed with your Snapchat. He goes, can you lead my video team? So they offered me a ton of money, and it felt good to be wanted, if I'm being honest, especially being in TV and journalism. Like, it's a tough job. It's a tough market. You're always made to feel like you're on the cutting block. So I went to a startup and it was a disaster. Very cliche. I lasted 90 days there and my esteem was just completely destroyed. And I remember thinking, I can't go back to corporate because I felt so low. And so I ended up doing some freelance video work. And fast forward, I guess I had a video company I was doing, but my heart was never in it. But like, I had all these cool brands because I had the resume, but I didn't know how to run a business. I was losing money. I was going bankrupt. People thought I was this, oh my God, like, you're working with Lululemon and you're working with Netflix. I'm like, I'm making no money. Like, don't hear me out. Like, I'm getting in the door because they're like, Today Show producer, oh, you must know what you're doing. And I'm like, but I don't know how to run a video business, And so that kind of perpetuated my entrepreneurship journey, where I had a come to Jesus moment. My husband, we're very double income, and he was like, you gotta figure it out. We gotta figure something out, or we can't stay in New York City with our kids. And like, it was bad. It was really bad. And so
I want to go back to, I want to go to that, but I want to go back to the job, but going to the startup and it not working out, because I think there are people listening to this where that is such a reality for some people, of like, left this job for another opportunity. And I mean, I can name like 3 people right now that I feel like that's happened to. Like, what did you walk me through, like, when you had the realization where you were like, oh shit, like, this isn't gonna work? Yeah, talk to me about that, because I just think a lot of people could learn from it.
Yeah, and I think anyone who's been at a really toxic job, which is probably most women, to be honest, not to discount that men haven't either, but most women probably can relate to that a bit more. It's like, in your gut, something isn't right. But because I was I was at the Today Show for, it was amazing. So I was used to this like cozy environment. I came out of my second maternity leave early to start this role. And I remember I showed up on my first day and no one knew it was my first day. They thought I was starting the week after. So right there, I remember being like, no one knew who I was. And they had wined and dined me for literally 6 weeks. I mean, I said no twice. And so it was just crazy. So when I got there, no one knew who I was. It was just and I was just out of my maternity leave. So I was nursing. And this was for a digital mom brand, which shall remain nameless.
Okay.
But yeah, it was in my wheelhouse because I did digital mom content, parenting content at the Today Show. And there was nowhere to nurse. I had a nurse in a storage closet with cockroaches all over the boxes. And this is my first day. And I remember thinking like, this is weird, but you don't know. I didn't know anything. So anyway, fast forward, and it became very clear that this startup, they just wanted to sell. So all they cared about was getting people on their roster that came from insert Facebook, insert Today Show, insert, whatever you might deem as, a legacy brand name. They wanted to pad the optics that this is who we are. Meanwhile, the people at the top, it was like, I couldn't hang in that environment. It was like beyond I had never experienced workings like that. And so, every day I would come home crying. It was like, I would just walk up the stairs of my Brooklyn not my brownstone, but the brownstone we lived in. Yeah. And I remember just trudging with my breast pump and, you hold it all in, and just every day I would just sit and sob on the subway, on the F train. Just so, my husband had left his job to kind of like do something else. So I was carrying the health insurance. I had equity. I was so naive.
Yeah.
Trapping.
Well, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I was making the most money I had ever made in my corporate life ever. They changed the healthcare plan because my doctor wasn't covered. They're like, no problem, we'll change it. I mean, that's how the level of like, we want you so bad. And so anyway, and then slowly but surely I would get called in for an HR thing. And then I would get called in for something else. And then it was like, well, why didn't you do this? And then I went to lunch one day, my boss and 3 other men, and they're sitting in a corner at a famous West Village restaurant. And I remember I walk in, it was right before Christmas, and they were all sitting there in suits. And I was like, oh my God, they're going to fire me. It was like, it hit me. And I turned, I tapped into a part of myself I didn't even know existed. I remember I sat down and I was like, so it was, I ended up getting a little bit of a severance actually that I was not entitled to, because I'm like, this is gross. Like, it's gross, and I have everything documented. And like, so anyway, that was I just knew. And that was in all of 9 days.
That is like literally my aura ring is like, you need to calm down, because I'm hearing this story and I'm like, oh my gosh. But the through line, Patrice, like I'm hearing, and I know we're going to talk about AI, but like, you are not afraid to pivot. You're not afraid to start over, and you're not afraid to roll up your sleeves and be entry level when you're used to being the expert. And I feel like that's exactly what you did with AI. You're like, okay, I started this storytelling company, but now there's this threat to storytelling, which is AI. Yeah. And you're like, instead of trying to say why I'm better than it, why don't I just lean into it? So first tell me about that pivot, and then I want to get into tactics around how people can use it.
Yeah. So I want to say it's a bit of a 2-pronged situation here, but it still goes in with the theme. So I moved to Europe 19 months ago from New York. I took my family of 5 and moved to Portugal. And I was at the point in my business where actually most of my revenue was coming from storytelling workshops, storytelling trainings. Like, so it was my brand video clients were like less and less. So I was like, okay, I'm in a position where I can move to Portugal. The cost of living is going to be less anyway. My husband's company, not his company, but that he was working at, was totally cool about him moving to Portugal because the boss moved to Spain with his family from New York. A week before we were moving, the company my husband was working at got bought. So you have a whole new people coming in, and they're like, I'm sorry, who's this guy? This guy is moving to Lisbon? No, he's not. So my husband, as we were landing in Portugal, lost his job. So all of a sudden, I swear to God, I look back, I'm like, everything that I've ever, if you look at my trajectory with my spikes, it's always been because I've had like intense back in a corner fire energy. So my husband, when we landed, like didn't have income coming in. And it's a lot different when you're in New York City and you have your network and it's like, oh, well, I'll just get another job or it'll be fine. You're living in Lisbon. Like, we were this is 2023. So kind of that whole COVID utopia of everyone being remote was starting to shrink. And so all of a sudden, my husband's like, the jobs I'm looking at now would require me to probably have to go to London like every week, which is not why we moved to Lisbon. So when I landed, that matters because that was I feel context. I'm a storyteller. Context matters. So you have like my frame of mind at that point was, first of all, I was super depressed when I first moved to Lisbon, which took me by surprise because it's the most beautiful place. But I think I was just in such shock of so much change at once. I have 3 little kids, new language, new country. I didn't know a soul. We moved we didn't move for work. We didn't move for family. It was truly just us as a unit. Like, why not? You live once, right? We're going to die. Like, let's just try this. But when I got there, I was like, this is not how I envisioned. I was either crying or I was just numb. It was just that feeling. But also, I'm the breadwinner right now. I have to keep this together. And you have to understand, I lost 50% of my revenue with my brand video clients because I had a studio in New York that was no more. So all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, this is 2023 in the summer. And right before then, like I said, I run storytelling classes. And I'll never forget, it was my spring class and ChatGPT had just come out and I had not used it yet. And I remember we got to the end of my program and we've been doing all this founder story work where we deep dive into your past childhood, what makes you you, and we put it into a video script and we use it and you can use it for your marketing. I remember at the end, I got like this one script from this woman who all of a sudden became like, I'm like, what is this? It was a ChatGPT script, but I didn't know it was ChatGPT. And my partner, my online business manager, or now she's my partner, but she's my online business manager at the time. She had already been super into AI. So she had been telling me she's like, Patrice, you need to start paying attention. Like, I've already baked AI into your systems and you don't even know that I have because it's seamless. She's like techie. She goes, you need to start getting, and I remember when I got this script, she goes, yeah, she ChatGPT'd this script. I'm like, I can't put this into my editors. So all of a sudden I was jolted. So this was like in June. So before I left in August for Portugal, in June, I was jolted. So I started paying attention and like, I get it. ChatGPT, it can be faster than us. It can do 1,000 hooks in 2 seconds. Like, that wasn't the thing. But as a teacher who taught people how to tap into their personal life experiences to weave into business, that takes a lot of emotional vulnerability. And so my whole thought process was like, can AI help us tell more emotionally connective stories? I didn't know if it could. So that was my journey. So I led in from that angle, not like can this automate? Can this do things quicker? Because yes, and like, yes, it can do most things better than us, right? But I wasn't sure yet about that piece. So then fast forward, when I landed and my husband didn't have a job, I am like, I need to get some cash. I needed to get some. So I was already doing AI and learning and researching on my own. So I'm like, F it. Like, I'm just going to make this public and just show people what I'm doing. So I ran a workshop in September. I put it out. It was like crappy landing page. I had a link. I was like, I'm learning this. Here's what I'm learning about AI. I probably know not that much more than you. Come learn with me. I sold like hundreds without even like marketing. I sold hundreds of spots for that workshop and I ran it for two different days. And people were like, this is ridiculous. So that's it. So it was kind of like my online business manager giving me the nudge, my students turning in ChatGPT scripts, and I didn't know what it was. And then the third thing was me being a breadwinner of my family of 5 in a new country. And I'm not understanding how long it was going to take my husband to get a job or to start his own thing, which he's now done. Like, it was all that combined where I think I just went down and I just went laser focused and I got really into it. So that's sort of how it started in 2023.
And I think like one of the things that I'm so interested and impressed by is that you're not necessarily saying use like a lot of people are using AI to write things for them. You're saying
Yes,
no, use it as your investigator to uncover like what your audience is discussing to make your content better. So can you
correct.
talk more about that? Yeah.
Yeah. So we're doing AI differently. And I know we are because now I've run many more workshops since then. And I have a tool that I built or we built, me and my online business manager. Now she's a part of, I founded another business recently with her. But here's the thing. I was never interested in having it write for us because when I got some of these scripts back in my storytelling program, I'm like, this is not good. Like it's grammatically perfect, but it's soulless. And I knew this woman because we had done so much work. I'm like, you are missing. You are literally missing from this beautifully written script. We need you back. So we started going into this AI thing, and maybe now it's a bit more common, but when we were doing our AI stuff, we were teaching people to use AI as a mirror. So rather than say, hey, ChatGPT, here I am, and here's what I do, write a post about top 3 storytelling tips and why someone needs to storytell in their business. I would say to someone, hey, let's use AI to gain further insight on you. Like, let's dig deep into you because I'm a big believer. And, we've talked about this. There's tons of people that teach storytelling. There's tons of people that teach people about keynote speaking. But there's a reason people go to you, Jess, and not the 100 other people that they could go to. You speak to your people. And so if we know how to speak to our people even deeper and analyze ourself, it's uncomfortable. But we can do this now with AI. And you can kind of have these aha moments about why you think or why why that failure wasn't actually really a failure and why that would currently relate to your audience and what they care about. It's that analysis and that pattern recognition of your life experience combined with recognizing what your audience really cares about. And if you can match that, that is the goal. And it's not and then I don't have a problem. Of course, not all of us are blessed up writers, right? So like if we need some help writing, like that's why I made a tool. But besides that, even if you're starting, most people don't do that extra pre-steps. They go straight into the writing. They go straight to write. They don't do it. It's like the foreplay of AI. It's like you have to start there. And if you do that first, you're already going to be started. You're going to be ahead of how you're asking the AI to write for you because you're coming at it from a deeper place of understanding. And the more the AI understands context and where you're coming from, the better output it's going to give you. But most people don't even know how to get to that point.
So, I mean, using AI to help get better context for the people that you're speaking to, for how to write, how to sell, it's like a lot of, and myself included, I'm like, okay, give me the first draft of this newsletter. Give me the first draft of this email instead of using it to gain insights. And you created a tool. Tell us what you created and how it's helping people do this.
It is wild how many, and I know you can attest to this, people are their own worst enemy because we get in our head and we downplay our life and we downplay our experiences. Like even listening to you talk about me, it's a natural reaction to you almost want to go inward and you almost cringe, you're like, oh God, that because that's our brain, right? Kind of telling us. And so especially when on these stages that you teach women to all different types of people to get on stage, but if you're not able to get out of yourself, which is the hardest part is I think as a founder, because now we need to put ourselves out there and market ourselves. It's a different marketing world than it was, 7-8 years ago running a business where maybe you didn't have to be the face in the same way. So if you don't have access to a coach or access to things, like most of the time, most founders they just stay there, or they don't ever do it. They don't ever get out of their own way. So they never even get the opportunity to put themselves on that stage or to make that post or to launch that idea. So if we can use AI as that like person that's not a person, but almost like that third party that's telling us, no, that's cool. Like, that's awesome. And actually, if you talk about that one thing back when you said you were doing a bad job, if you were to relate that to now, your audience would like that because X, Y, and Z. Sometimes just seeing that presented to us, that's not your mom, or that's not like a therapist, like sometimes just having that is what, and I know this because I've been witnessing it now for the past 9 months. Like, that's just the hump people need. And it's like, I am unstoppable. Like, let me get out there. So, and I think and it's really important because the voices that need to get out there, just like you're passionate about getting like people on the stage and their voices, the same voices need to do that in AI. We need to like use it to get over ourselves. Okay. So let me stop.
Yeah, no, I think that like I'm just pulling out some of the headlines here because I'm like, okay, what are the things that I'm gonna like go back and reframe like how I'm thinking about it. And I hear like, let AI get your insights so you can be a better writer, but also let AI be like your third party as like a feedback thing that, again, that's like someone's not your mom. What is like one more way people can use AI that they might not be thinking about as it comes to like storytelling and showing up online and showing up on camera?
Well, I think one of the ways is, and I kind of said this before, but to say it more succinctly, the sweet spot is when you can relate to your target customer. So if your target customer believes that you understand them deeply, and it's not just lip flap, or it's not just like, vulnerability for the sake of being vulnerable because that's what's trending on TikTok. If you have that ability where you can, like Sarah Blakely has that ability, right? She's a freaking billionaire, yet she's like the most relatable,
Most
she's
relatable person. Yes.
most relatable person because she's just like who she is, it's like, that's not easy for everyone to do, especially online, right? Where you can get really in your head and most people aren't themselves online because they stop themselves before they ever let them be who they are. So I'm telling you, if you can use AI as that pattern recognizer of taking your past and your life and literally having AI look at your life and pulling out moments where it knows that your audience is going to be attracted to, if you match your life moments, which is hard for us because it's our life.
It's really hard.
We are not yes.
It doesn't seem interesting to us, but it's interesting to other people. Right. Yeah.
And so that's why there's so much like content that's a bit like meh, because we censor ourselves because we are biased on our own life. And now, and I just taught a workshop on this last week, last Thursday and Friday. AI changes so quickly, but as small business owners, as solopreneurs, we have to tap into all our unfair advantages. And in the past, I believe that our unfair advantage as a solopreneur or small business person was we can tell better stories because we're on the ground. We can be ourselves. The higher up you get in corporate, the bigger you get, the less they squash you and the more they pay as a big brand to actually get back to the ground. It's really a weird thing. So our unfair advantage, that's why it's so important to know how to storytell well as a solopreneur, because that's unfair. You do that better than big brands. However, what we could never do better than big brands ever is tap into the 6-7 figure marketing research budgets and understand at a deep psychographic level what your audience fears, what they desire, what they aspire, like that type of stuff. You tell that to a small business owner and it's like I'm trying to get together like a content plan for today and tomorrow. And I'm worried about like customers. Like I'm not thinking about like market research. I can't, or talk to your customer.
It's like space for it. Yeah. Yeah.
You're trying to bring in money and you're like, I'll talk to my customer. It's like, it's so esoteric. Now with all these new deep research functionalities with Perplexity and Gemini and even the ChatGPT, like you have access to 6-figure marketing research insights that were formerly, up until a few months ago, only reserved for them. We now have access to them if you know how to use it right. So all of a sudden now you can get these 100-page insane reports of what's being said in Reddit and what's being said in this random blog in the middle of Kansas that I don't even know existed, but guess what? That's where my audience is, that's really struggling to like market their CPG product in the Western block. Like you can get this insane, like, oh my God. And so now you have this, and now we can know what stories we can tell.
And like you said, without needing like the 6-7 figure budgets, like building my TED Talk, which is going to be around public speaking. And I wanted to hit like why people are afraid of it. And I had my own assumptions, but then I like put it into ChatGPT. I'm like, what are the like main reasons why people are afraid of this? And it was things that I just wasn't even thinking of because I wasn't afraid of those things. I was afraid of other things, but those things, I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. And so it helps like broaden what are people really experiencing and how can I speak to that instead of just speaking through my own lens and own point of view. I would like this, we could talk for hours, but I want to wrap it up with like someone who might be AI shy or maybe AI resistant, especially as someone who's creative. And they're like, I don't want to sound robotic. I don't want to take away my voice and my tone. What advice can you share with that person?
So this is not even a shameless plug because this is the truth. So I had the same issue as a storyteller, as someone who's creative. I hated ChatGPT, even Claude. I know everyone loves Claude and I love Claude too, but it was never better than me. It was never better than the person, like, and people, pretend I'm Mel Robbins and rate this like Mel Robbins. And like that's why you have everyone sounding the same. And you have zombie content that everyone now has the same, like, bro prompts that I also get excited when I see it, like dopamine hits. And I'm like, this is going to change my life. They never do. When I say we, Vibka she still is my online business manager, but we were brainstorming. I'm like, oh my God, like we have all this knowledge. I have all this storytelling knowledge. Not everyone can afford to take a program. And maybe the timeline of when my program starts is not their timeline. And like the course industry has completely changed. So it's still, there's all these things. And so we're like, let's put together like a free like little storytelling thing to get more people to my list and maybe drive them down to like another part of my storytelling business, not thinking that this free bot that we put out last March, it was like, I was not thinking that was going to be a product. So to answer your question, and that for that creative person, I never wanted to get into AI for that reason, because it's a problem. It's not as good. And it does suck out the creativity. But when we launched this product baked with my knowledge bank and my prompting, all of a sudden people were like, this is the best thing I've like ever written. And it's like you were in the room with me, telling me, coaching me through and asking the right questions. So people were like, I want to pay you for this. So we ended up scrapping my whole rest of my year last year. And we built this tool called My Story Pro. And it is built to do that. If you are creative, it will not write something for you. If you go in and you say, which is annoying to some people, but go to ChatGPT, like there's tools for that. My tool, it'll make you dig. It's like, so it'll say like, well, who are you trying to do this for? And why? And it's like, oh, really? And if you tell them something and it's not good enough, pocket Patrice, that's the brainstorming element. She'll be like, we need to go deeper. That's too generic. That actually is a theme that I'm seeing all over the place. She'll give you opinions and
insight and analysis. Yeah.
But from a expert hack. This is not like WebMD. Right now you go to ChatGPT, it's like, give me the 10 best storytelling tips. You're going to be pulling from God knows who, probably mostly dudes. Honestly, these dudes are the loudest, and the loudest people are the loudest people in the marketing spaces. And those are the hits in the SEO play that they have higher stuff to. So anything that you pull, even if you disagree with them value-wise, whatever, you don't know. It's probably pulling from that. So I think as well, like, it's really important to know your sourcing and like to know where this is from. So anything that, so this using my tool, which by the way, we have a free trial and it's a very robust free trial. It's like, you can write a whole sales page. You can write it's a lot to try out, but it's doing the brainstorming and kind of getting to that aha moment, then using that new insight that you can't see. As you said, we're all in our own bubbles, in our own feedback loops, not even knowing if it's true or not sometimes. And so this gets you out of your own feedback loop, then get you inspired to be like, oh, I'm going to write about this. And so your creativity and your voice stays.
Yes, getting out of your own feedback loop. That is a great like use case for AI as well. I love it. Patrice, you're the best. I am so glad to have you here. I'm so glad to have you from Mic Drop Academy. And now I'm glad to be a student of yours. I've bought your course. I've done my Story Pro. Y'all, she's the real deal. So we're going to link it in the show notes. Patrice, thank you for being here. You're the best.
Oh, thank you. You're the best.
Thanks for listening to Amplify. If you're a fan of the show, show us some podcast love by giving us a rating and review. This episode is brought to you by Mic Drop Workshop, where you can learn how to become a better speaker, how to land paid speaking gigs, and become a keynote speaker. This episode was edited and produced by Walk West. I'm Jess Ekstrom, reminding you that you deserve the biggest stage, so let's find out how to get you there. I'll see you again soon.